And next we hear from David Inbar, Director of Strategic Marketing in the Office of the CTO at Pervasive Software. In his case study today, David is going to share with us how Pervasive helps companies get the most out of their data investments through a set of rich and agile cloud-based services for data management, data integration, and B2B exchanges. David.
Well, thank you, Vance. So this particular case study is an illustration of how some of our customers deploy data services to the cloud as part of their internal services or as part of a SaaS application in place of traditional on-premises data services. This first slide illustrates classic scenarios that all our customers in one form or another come up with for integration either in the cloud or with the cloud. And on the left-hand side, you can see the typical move data into the cloud, then have it moving back and forth from the cloud to your own applications. Then the very widespread, I've got a growing number of cloud applications. I need to shuttle data between them. And then the fourth one here where customers and partners of ours actually build their own data services in the cloud. And that's where we're going to focus today with this use case, which is all about a customer that's built some pretty sophisticated processes in the cloud, and we're going to drill in on one of them, which is one aspect of the capabilities that Pervasive provides, which is both data cloud, which is a services platform, as well as data profiling, which is one part typically of data integration flows. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown here on the challenge that they faced. They traditionally tackled the problem of receiving their customers' data. So the scenario here is a financial institution that either does something like risk analysis services for its customers, could be doing loan processing, could be doing credit scoring, a variety of those kinds of applications. And in order to do that, they get data from their customers, in some cases weekly, sometimes daily, could be hourly, and the data volumes could be high or low. Either way, they do some pretty sophisticated processing within their own cloud. And while they, in the past, were used to receiving batches of data on-premise and or their own customer working on that to make sure that the data was clean, was complete, was reliable, was aligned with what they delivered in the past, here they were trying to leverage the advantages of cloud economics, and one aspect of that ideally is self-service. So they were trying to deliver a way in which their customers could deliver data into the cloud and assess if it was ready and if it was for processing. If not, what was wrong with it, what they needed to do with it, and so on. So that was the challenge. Based on their experience in the past, particularly with new customers and bringing new customers online, they experienced some pain points that I'm sure are very familiar to a lot of the audience, which is setting up data from a new customer can take time and makes a big difference not only in terms of cost but in terms of expected revenues, and we'll talk about that. And you can see here the amount of resource that they had put in place. For some of the sophisticated services they were delivering, they really needed a lot of people spending a lot of time to get data conditioned and ready to use and line up the customers' systems and so on. So literally, and they're introducing this SaaS-based or cloud-based service for their customers, they were looking at these kinds of data prep numbers and recognizing that, particularly in the SaaS marketplace, these kinds of costs were going to be very unattractive, or they were going to load up their operation with too many overheads. And one of the benchmarks that they shared with us up front was, at the beginning, the amount of deferred revenue that they were carrying because the implementation time for getting new customers set up was just so long. And you can see that in the blue higher graph here on this slide. And because they couldn't get customers up and running, they couldn't start recognizing revenue from them or even charging them revenue in some cases. and they really needed to tackle that problem, and you can see where they ended up, but we'll talk about how they got there. Here's the setup of what they were trying to do. Imagine in this case that there's an application, used to be on-premise, it's now running in the cloud. It needs to receive condition data, and before it can run on that, which is in the bottom center of this particular slide. So imagine the processing is that hard disk drive with the globe in front of it. It will only accept good data, otherwise its results are going to be no value. So the customer who's starting out on the left-hand side here in the office building is delivering data to the cloud. It gets profiled by something called Data Profiler, which is one of our products, and a whole lot of metrics result from that, telling them everything about the data content, the data structure, its relationship to a variety of tests that have been put in place, the Data Profiler, and then that gets kicked back. If everything's fine, then the data gets passed straight through to the data integrator process that we've put in here, and everything runs from there. So that's the layout of the solution, if you like, or the approach. And the key to that is that the customers can submit the data multiple times. So there's a process that they go through. They can hit the go button on testing the data totally separately from actually running the data, and that gives them the opportunity to get things right up front. So self-service or data profiling self-service in the cloud makes the client more self-sufficient. That's absolutely critical. Increases accuracy, decreases everybody's processing time, because, again, the only people who can really fix the data is the customer themselves. Otherwise, they're going to not be able to get things done. And you can see here that you can increase revenue recognition. Bottom line, what did they get out of it? Well, you can see here that the number of people tied up in making data work and making it right went down dramatically. Onboarding is really dramatic. So we've got a lead time that's gone from 4 weeks to literally less than an hour. And that's a huge difference. And as a result, recognized revenue goes up. And more importantly, client satisfaction goes up. So that's the quick outline of this particular use case. At this point, I'm going to hand back to Vance.
David, thank you very much about the look at we've got as far as how data can be moved into the cloud, both safely and efficiently, in cutting down the cost and complexity as well as speeding revenue streams. In the time we have left, let me just ask you one question, because it does sound like this particular case study, while it doesn't touch all of Pervasive's offerings, does highlight a particular balancing act, so to speak, that I think a lot of our attendees face, and that is a lot of them are looking at moving to the cloud for efficiencies and even self-service, but they're concerned about the high availability of their data and especially the privacy and integrity issues. There's something about the way you described your case study that makes me think that you're sensitive to those balancing acts and are giving a lot of added value.
We hear about those issues from our customers all the time. So we developed something called Pervasive Data Cloud, which is very specifically a platform as a service for data services or data-centric services. It runs on Amazon Web Services, and we take care with Data Cloud of things, the economics and manageability side of things with multi-tenancy. We take care of it with having security built on top of Amazon's own security services. We have additional application and user security separately set up and under the control of our customers or partners, and the ability to encrypt and monitor data as it's flowing through the various processes.
And that's a key point I guess we're going to hear more about later in your solo session, the idea of data flowing. This is not a data center, data storage solution. This is a solution in the cloud meant to let data be on the move. Looking forward to your drill down session later this morning.
Look forward to it as well. Many thanks.